recording today, so I'm going to record this note-taking session. All right, so again, the area formula is 1/2 base times height, but my preference is base times height divided by 2, just so that we're not dealing really with fractions. We're just dealing with multiplication and division. Boys, you with me? And then to find perimeter, it's just an addition of those sides. All right, but we are not going to be given all that we need. We're going to have to use what we know about triangles to solve for missing sides so that we can find perimeter and area. And so in number 1, we have, please add this to your notes. Base and height. The base and the height of a triangle always have to be perpendicular to each other. They must be perpendicular. And so in this right triangle, the base 48 is perpendicular to that height 14. So the base of that triangle is 48. The height of that triangle is 14. So I have the information I need to find its area. I use the formula base times height divided by 2, and I multiply 48 times 14, and then I divide by 2. So you all should have a calculator. In your calculator, please multiply 48 times 14 and then divide by 2. And what do we get? 336. Do I have all the information I need to find perimeter? I do not, because I am missing this hypotenuse. So, in math, how can we find a missing hypotenuse? Pythagorean theorem. And so we're going to use Pythagorean theorem to find the hypotenuse. 48 squared plus 14 squared is going to give me my c squared. And remember, if you put the radical, the square root symbol, in first, and then put 48 squared plus 14 squared underneath that symbol, it will give you the answer to that side length in one step. And so when you do that, what do you get? 50. And so this side is 50. And so now you can find the perimeter of that triangle. By doing what? How do you find perimeter? Anyone? You add the 3 sides. So 14 plus 48 plus 50. And what does that make? 112. All right, on number 2, do you see the large triangle here? Why is there a line drawn down the center? Because again, the base and the height have to be perpendicular. So to measure the height of this triangle, we have to draw a line from the top of the triangle straight down at a 90-degree angle to the base. So the base of this triangle is 21, and the height of the triangle is 8. So again, we have enough information to find area. So I find area of a triangle by multiplying base times height and then dividing by 2. So 21 times 8 and then divide by 2. What is 21 times 8 divided by 2? 84. Do I have enough information yet to find the perimeter? What am I missing? I am given one side and I'm missing 2 others, right? So when you see this height drawn, do you see that it creates 2 right triangles? It creates this right triangle on the left, and then it creates this right triangle on the right. So if I'm looking at this right triangle to the left, it's got a 6 and an 8. And if you remember Pythagorean triples, if a leg is 6 and another leg is 8, the hypotenuse is going to be 10. And so I want you to write the note Pythagorean triple. And it's really the 3, 4, 5 in the multiple of 6, 8, 10. So it's being multiplied by 2. But it is the Pythagorean triple 3, 4, 5, and then it's its multiple of 2, 6, 8, 10. And then that gives us this side of that triangle. So now we have 2 sides of the triangle, but now I need this third side. So now we look at this right triangle, and is 21 part of this triangle?
No, you have to subtract it from it.
Very good. No, you have to subtract 6 from it. So 21 minus 6 is 15. And I'm going to tell you that that is also a Pythagorean triple. The 8, 15, 17 is a Pythagorean triple. So that side is 17. And so now do I have enough information to find perimeter?
Yeah.
Yes. 10 plus 17 plus 21. And when I add 10 and 17 and 21, what do I get? 28? 48. That sounds more right. What kind of triangle is number 3? Based on its sides, when two sides are the same, it is isosceles. And we know that in an isosceles triangle, when you draw an altitude, it cuts the side that it intersects in half into 2 equal pieces. So if this side is 2, this side also has to be 2. And so this whole side is 4. So do I yet have enough information for area? No, but I have a base. I just don't have the height yet. But do I have enough information for perimeter? Yes, 6, 6, and 4. So I can go ahead and find the perimeter. And 6 plus 6 plus 4 is 16. So now in order to find area, I need the height. So the height is drawn in for me. When it is drawn in, it creates 2 right triangles. And that right triangle has a leg of 2 and a hypotenuse of 6. Here, this is not a Pythagorean triple, but we can use the Pythagorean theorem. So I'm given the hypotenuse and a leg, so am I adding or subtracting the squares? When you're given a hypotenuse and a leg, you subtract the squares. So it's going to be the square root of 6 squared minus 2 squared. That's going to give you your height. So I'm solving for this side using Pythagorean theorem. 32, and so it's the square root of 32.
I already said it.
What is
the
this?
30? It's square root.
So what is the square root of 32 in your calculator when you simplify that? I want a decimal. 5.65, 65, 68?
Well, the next one's a 6. You got 5, 6, 5. Or no, 6, 5, 6.
Well, we're just going to cut it off. If you want to round it up, go for it, but we're just going to cut it off. So my height is 5.65. And now do I have enough information to find the area?
Yeah.
Base times height divided by 2. So 4 times 5.65 divided by 2. Very good. All right, so what we're doing today is not just finding area and perimeter, but we are applying what we know about triangles in order to find the missing pieces so that we can do that skill. All right, number 4 is also an isosceles triangle. Number 4 you can use Pythagorean theorem, but it is more confusing on this one to use Pythagorean theorem than it is to remember that when two sides are the same, it's a 45, 45, 90. And the ratio, Logan, of the 45, 45, 90 is x, and x square roots of 2. And so if 10 is x square roots of 2, all you do is solve for x by dividing both sides by what? The square root of 2. And so 10 divided by the square root of 2 is? So each of these sides is 7.07. That really is going to be easier on that one than Pythagorean theorem. And so now what is the base of that triangle? 7.07, and the height of that triangle? Remember, base and height have to be perpendicular. They form the right angle, so it is also 7.07. And so then how do you find area? Multiply those together and divide by 2. So 7.07 times 7.07 divided by 2. 35 point. That doesn't sound right.
24.99. 25.
24.99? That sounds like what we got earlier today, yes.
I just round up to 25.
Yes. And if we had not, had we simplified 10 square roots of 2 in radical form, we would have gotten 25, but we're using decimals because we have a calculator. All right, and then to find perimeter, what do I add? What does that mean? 7.07 plus 7.07 plus 10. And that equals 24.14. What kind of triangle is number 5?
Equilateral.
It is, but it's also, oh, sorry, it is equilateral. Yes, it is equilateral and then therefore equiangular. So if all sides are 8, all angles here have to be how much? Because it's equilateral. They share 180 degrees equally. So each angle is 60. And the reason I point that out is because this one, you can also use your 30, 60, 90 situation. You can use Pythagorean theorem on this one too. But, so what is the base of this triangle? 8. I don't know the height yet. The height I had to draw in as a perpendicular line, so I have to solve for that. So I can't find the area yet, but can I find the perimeter? Yes. How? 8 plus 8 plus 8. Or 8 times 3, which is 24. All right, and so now to find the height. Would y'all prefer to use the special triangle rules, or do you want to just use Pythagorean theorem? And you tell me, because this is your notes. So how do you feel most comfortable so that when you look back at your notes, I want to make sure you understand how to do it. So do y'all prefer Pythagorean theorem? Yes? Okay. So once I cut this in half, what do I know happened to this base? It made 2 pieces that are each what? 4. And that's the number you have to use in order to find this height. Because now I'm looking at this as this is a right triangle with a leg of 4 and a hypotenuse of 8. So when I have a hypotenuse and a leg, am I adding or subtracting on Pythagorean theorem? When you have the hypotenuse and a leg, you do what? Subtract. And so the square root of 8 squared minus 4 squared will give you the height. And so what is that? 6.92. So that height is 6.92. And so now I have all the information I need to find the area of that triangle. I have a base of 8 and a height of 6.92. So what do I do with those? I multiply them together and divide them by 2. Remember, you're dividing by 2 because that's the formula. The 2 doesn't come from anywhere except that it is part of the formula. And what is 8 times 6.92 divided by 2? 27.68. All right, number 6. That is a composite figure. So we did composite figures on Wednesday and Thursday. So this is not 2 rectangles put together. It is a rectangle with a triangle. So we solve to find the area of the rectangle first. How do we do that? 5 times 12 is 60. And then we find the area of that triangle. So its base and height is what I need. Do I have the base of the triangle? Look closely. Yes, it is 12. It is the rectangle here. We know that across from that is also going to be 12. So the base of the triangle is 12. The height of the triangle is 3. So it is base times height divided by 2. So 12 times 3 divided by 2 is 18. But that is not my area, right? That's just the area of just kidding. That's the area of the triangle. And so now what do I do with those 2 areas? Add them together. Those 2 now are combined to make the total area of 78. And then the last example, what if you don't have a picture but all you have are numbers to plug into a formula? So what you start with is the formula for area of a triangle, base times height divided by 2. And then you plug in the numbers where they say, based on what they say they represent. So it says a triangle has an area of 46. So the A becomes 46. The base is 4, so the B becomes 4. The H is what I'm trying to find, so I leave that there. And then I divide by 2 because the formula tells me to. And now that's just algebra. To undo division by 2, we multiply. So that cancels, and 2 times 46 is 92. And that's going to equal this 4h. And then to solve for h, we just divide by what? 4. Algebraically is not the only way you can solve that. If you can look at that and know that because it's a triangle and you have a base and you're dividing by 2, that you're gonna have to do the opposite and multiply by 2, and then instead of multiply by 4, divide by 4, you will get the same answer. So you don't have to do it algebraically. If you can figure it out in your head, I'm good with that, but this is the algebraic way to solve that. And what is 92 divided by 4? 23? All right. I am going to allow you to work with a partner if you need to. I found TJ's paper on the floor this morning. TJ, I assume you didn't leave your paper on the floor? You don't know? Did you do your work?
Pretty sure.
Did you fall asleep after you did your work?
Probably.
Did somebody take your work off your desk, or did you just slide it onto the floor? So I do hope that you all are doing your own work. So make sure that you are. I was pleased that most of you turned it in, but I'm not sure that you all did your own work, because I found it back here.
All weekend, they didn't clean out the school?
My custodian comes in during my conference, and then, no, they don't want me to. All right, so flip to the back. The parallelogram that you see there, on number 9? Yeah, on number 9. A parallelogram, to find its area, is just base times height. You don't divide by 2 because it's not a triangle. Remember, the dividing by 2 in the dividing by 2 part of a triangle. Did y'all not get the papers? Did I skip over
I
y'all?
wasn't gonna tell you.
I'm so sorry.
I was just gonna say.
So, again, the dividing by 2 for a triangle is because triangles are half of. Pass it across. We pass papers across. Can y'all work that out? All right, and so
The other one, did he?
I did not teach you how to do this. This is something that you should have learned in your past, and I didn't want to spend a full day teaching you how to do base times height because it is just base times height. But again, you do have to find the height first. So on number 9, use what we just did to find the missing piece of a right triangle to find the height, and then it's just 11 times whatever that number is to find the area. And then perimeter, parallelograms are like rectangles. The sides across from the sides given are the same. So as that's 6 and 6, 11 and 11. All right, I will say this on the front, 1 through 5, the only one that cannot be solved, the only one that you cannot find the missing sides using Pythagorean theorem is number 6. 1 through 5, you can use Pythagorean theorem to find the missing sides. Number 6 is the only one that you need a special right triangle ratio. So it is a 30, 60, 90 triangle. So that's 60 degrees. So that makes this x. That makes this side x square roots of 3. And that makes this side 2x. So if 8 is 2x, what is each x?
5.
If 8 is 2x, then x is 4. So this side becomes 4, and this side becomes 4 square roots of 3. Put that in your calculator to get a decimal, and now you can solve it. But the rest of them, you can use Pythagorean theorem to solve for the missing piece. All right? So, get those done, please. And if you need to work with a partner, I'm good with that, but please be sure you know what you're doing. We are going to have a test on Thursday. It'll be perimeter and area of rectangles, triangles, and composite figures.
So we're gonna do this all week?
We're going to practice this again tomorrow, and then I'll do a combination of rectangles, triangles, and composite figures on Wednesday as sort of a review, and we'll test on Thursday. Hurry. Sign out, please.